Breaking news, the Eagles are making moves. The Philadelphia Eagles are in a great spot right now. We have a top-tier general manager in Howie Roseman, and it feels good knowing he's steering the ship. If you believe Howie is the best GM in the NFL, smash that like button. And hey, drop a comment. Go Eagles, go Howie. Let's get back to the Super Bowl. Fly, Eagles, fly. Now let's talk about a huge move that could shape the future of this team. One that affects the most important position in football, quarterback. In case you missed it, Kenny Pickett is out of Philadelphia. The Eagles have traded him to the Cleveland Browns in exchange for Dorian Thompson-Robinson and a 2025 fifth-round pick. At first, this might seem like just a backup QB swap, but trust me, this is bigger than it looks. What this means for the Browns' Pickett is heading back to the AFC North, where he already knows the competition from his time with the Steelers. But here's the interesting part. Cleveland owns the second overall pick in the draft. Everyone expects them to take a quarterback, but could they actually be looking at Pickett as a bridge starter for 2025? And what about Deshaun Watson? He's recovering from 2 torn Achilles tendons. Is Cleveland starting to think about life after Watson? This trade raises a lot of questions for the Browns. What this means for the Eagles. For Philly, the message is clear as day. It's Tanner McKee time. McKee, a second-year quarterback, impressed in the preseason with his accuracy, smart decisions, and ability to throw a perfect back shoulder pass. At 6 feet 6 inches, he has the physical tools, and the Eagles clearly trust him as Jalen Hurts' primary backup. Think about it. The Eagles didn't have to trade Pickett. They could have kept him for depth. Instead, they went for a draft pick and a young, athletic quarterback in Thompson-Robinson. That tells us one thing. They believe in McKee. And let's not forget, Eagles fans know better than anyone how important a good backup quarterback is. What about Dorian Thompson-Robinson? DTR is an exciting player. He was a dynamic playmaker at UCLA under Chip Kelly, but struggled to find his rhythm in Cleveland. Still, the Eagles see potential. He's athletic, has a strong arm, and could develop into a solid quarterback 3 for Philly. So, what do you think, Eagles fans? Was this a smart move? Let's talk about it in the comments. The Eagles' philosophy: building a QB factory and navigating big departures. The Eagles' move with Kenny Pickett fits perfectly into their longtime strategy. They proudly call themselves a quarterback factory, and for good reason. Just look at how they developed Jalen Hurts. Now, with Kellen Moore as the new offensive coordinator and Scott Lachlan coaching quarterbacks, they're all in on making Tanner McKee the next big thing. But that's not all happening in Philly. While the Eagles haven't made any free agent signings yet, there's a lot of change happening on the defensive side of the ball. Key defensive players are leaving. Some big names from last year's number 1 ranked defense are moving on. Isaiah Rodgers is heading to the Minnesota Vikings. Milton Williams just landed a huge contract from the New England Patriots. A 4-year, $104 million deal with $63 million guaranteed. Darius Slay is expected to join the Pittsburgh Steelers, though the deal isn't finalized yet. Josh Sweat is off to Arizona, signing a 4-year, $76.5 million contract with $41 million guaranteed. That's a lot of talent leaving Philly. Milton Williams especially got a huge payday, $26 million per season, making him one of the highest-paid interior defensive linemen in the NFL. And Josh Sweat? He'll reunite with former Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon in Arizona, where he'll help lead their defense. What about Darius Slay? As for Darius Slay, the Eagles haven't released him yet, but he's been given the green light to seek a trade. All signs point to him landing in Pittsburgh, where he would join one of the NFL's top defenses. The Eagles' next step. So what's next for the Eagles? Howie Roseman clearly has a plan. He's counting on young talent to step up and fill the gaps. Here's who might be taking over. Moro Ohomo could replace Milton Williams. Jackson Hunt and Bryce Huff are likely to fill in for Josh Sweat. Kaylee Ringo may take over for Darius Slay. The Eagles are also relying on last year's top draft picks to boost the secondary. Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are expected to make an impact. It's a season of change, but Howie Roseman is betting on the next generation to keep Philly's defense strong. The QB decision, a bold move for the future. Let's dive back into the quarterback situation because this trade is making a clear statement. The Eagles aren't just collecting talent, They're shaping the future of the most important position in football. So, what do you think, Eagles fans? Grade this trade A, B, C, D, or F. Did the Eagles make the right call by trading Kenny Pickett? And how do you feel about Tanner McKee stepping into the QB2 role? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's chat about it. A long-term vision. This trade isn't happening in a vacuum. The Eagles have big plans, and if you look at Howie Roseman's track record, this move makes perfect sense. He's been brilliant at managing the roster, balancing the immediate needs with future planning. Trading Pickett isn't just about getting a fifth-round pick and a young developing quarterback in Dorian Thompson-Robinson. It's about making room for Tanner McKee to take over the QB2 role while keeping flexibility for the future. McKee, the next big thing? McKee's development is now one of the most exciting storylines in Philly. He showed a ton of promise last season. In his first career start in Week 18 against the Giants, McKee went 27 of 41 for 269 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. And he did it with backup players against New York starters. That wasn't a fluke. McKee had already impressed in the preseason, and now the Eagles are sending a clear message. They believe in him enough to make him the primary backup to Jalen Hurts. That's huge. The importance of a reliable backup. Let's be real. Having a reliable backup QB is crucial in the NFL. The Eagles know this better than anyone. This is the same franchise that won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles stepping in after Carson Wentz got hurt. Even last season, we saw how injuries to Hurts affected the offense. If something happens to Hurts again, the Eagles need a quarterback who can step in and keep the team competitive. The Eagles are betting that McKee is that guy. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, a wild card. Then there's Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR. He's an interesting addition. While he faced some struggles in Cleveland, he's got raw talent. At UCLA, he was known for his dual threat ability and strong arm under Chip Kelly. His mobility gives the Eagles another dimension in their quarterback room. And remember, in Philly, being a QB3 means you're always just one injury away from stepping up. If the Eagles can develop DTR, he could become an important piece moving forward. Defense woes, big losses, and big questions. While the quarterback situation is starting to look a little clearer, the defense is where things get really concerning. Losing Milton Williams, Josh Sweat, and possibly Darius Slay in the same offseason is a huge blow. Milton Williams, a Super Bowl star. Let's start with Milton Williams. He was dominant in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, consistently disrupting Patrick Mahomes in the pocket. His 5 sacks last season don't even tell the full story. He was a monster in the middle, pressuring the QB and stuffing the run. The Patriots saw his potential and threw big money at him, but the Eagles just couldn't match that offer. Josh Sweat, reuniting with Gannon. Then there's Josh Sweat, another tough loss. He was a key player in the Eagles' 2022 defense that led the league in sacks. Now he's heading to Arizona to reunite with former Eagles defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon. The Cardinals had the cap space, and they see Sweat as a perfect fit for their defense. It makes sense for them, but it's hard to watch him walk away from Philly. Darius Slay, the veteran departure. As for Darius Slay, his situation is still a bit unclear, but all signs point to him joining the Pittsburgh Steelers. Losing his veteran presence in the secondary is a tough hit for Philly. It now puts a lot of pressure on young guys like Kaylee Ringo and last year's draft picks Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Howie Roseman clearly believes in them, but replacing a player of Slay's caliber is a massive task. Holes to fill. There are still holes that need to be filled on this defense. The Eagles will need depth at cornerback, another pass rusher, and some solid players to step in after all the talent that's left. This offseason is huge for the Eagles. Free agency and the draft will play a massive role in shaping the team's future. Howie Roseman has a history of bold moves, and this trade might be just the beginning of something bigger. What do you think, Eagles fans? So now it's your turn. How do you feel about this trade? Are you confident in Tanner McKee stepping up as QB2? And do you think the defense can hold up after losing so many key players? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this offseason is far from over, and the Eagles have a lot of work ahead.